This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife, feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But it's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI's not just a healthcare provider. It's a women's telehealth clinic founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. Their clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. They offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions that isn't one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will find that their mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the healthcare they deserve. Because they believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It is the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized, insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.
From Estero, Florida, this is a One Extraordinary Marriage show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex has taken the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. Creators of the 6 Pillars of Intimacy, I'm Tony DiLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call or text us on the HUG hotline at 858-876-5663, or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In today's episode, we're talking about why so many couples struggle to clearly express their needs in marriage and what's really holding them back.
And there's a quote from Amir Levine that says, effectively expressing your emotional needs is even better than the other person magically reading your mind. It means that you're an active agent who can be heard, and it opens the door for a much richer emotional dialogue. I love that. And we're going to be talking about it in today's episode. But first, we start every episode with a hug. It's an opportunity for us to celebrate you, to celebrate what you're doing in your marriage, to celebrate how you're being intentional. And this hug comes from a comment that was posted in the One Family private Facebook group that says, "So I was looking for a podcast on marriage and found yours and loved it. Listening to the first one, I noticed you were talking about the 6 pillars and I didn't know what they were. So I found your book, The 6 Pillars of Intimacy, and wow, reading that book opened a whole new world to me and gave me so much hope to strengthen our marriage. And it has been great sharing with my wife and talking about the cracks in different pillars and how to make them stronger."
I love it. I love it. You know, thank you to each and every one of you who has picked up the 6 Pillars of Intimacy, The Secret to an Extraordinary Marriage. We've sold tens of thousands of copies. We continue to sell them. There are small groups that are going on all over this country that we don't even know about. And we just want to say thank you, because we believe that the 6 Pillars of Intimacy is what marriages need today. And every time I'm somewhere and I share them, people who've not heard of it go, "That's awesome." Like, I see what you're saying, because intimacy has gotten misconstrued in our society to only mean sex. And when I explain that it's closeness and connection, that's a true definition of intimacy, light bulbs go off. Marriages are changed. Families see something different in their mom and their dad. Like, kids see their mom and dad like in love again. And I'm not saying you get all the butterflies and all that, but they're truly connected and close. So I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. If you haven't picked it up, go grab it.
Absolutely. And share it with somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, this is a framework that we would love to see in the hands of, every single married couple. And you are the best ambassadors. As Tony said at the top of this episode, we're talking about why so many couples struggle to clearly express their needs in marriage. And I just wonder if you've ever had these, like one of these thoughts, like, I just wish he knew, or I don't understand why I have to tell her over and over again, or why can't my spouse just read my mind? We've been together for so long. Or if you loved
Elisa.
me, you would just know.
Yes, Elisa.
Why is this so hard? And I'll tell you, these are comments that I have heard so many times in coaching. In fact, I was recently coaching a young couple, and I just looked at them and I said, "Can we just establish from the get-go that the two of you, you've got the next 60 years of your lives together. like, let's just cut out the mind reading right now. Like, no, don't do it. Don't expect it. And they just looked at me and I go like, it's true. If somebody had told me almost 30 years ago, hey, Tony's not going to be able to read your mind. You're going to have to actually express what your needs are in order to be understood. I probably would have laughed, but it might have saved a whole lot of heartache in our marriage. And, part of what happens over time is that when we're not expressing those needs, when we're not having those conversations, we don't feel understood. There are parts of us that our spouse doesn't know. And, this past week on Instagram stories, we asked this question. The one thing I wish my spouse understood about me is, and I want you to hear these answers, because this is what happens when needs don't get expressed. These types of things get held inside. I still desire you, even if I don't say it. I'm not trying to fight. I'm trying to tell you what I need. I'm softer than I appear. Your critiques kill me. I don't mean to get defensive. I know you don't mean things hurtfully. I wish you understood my love language. I need toddler level clear communication. And these answers and so many that came in, it was just this overall, like, I want to be seen. I want to be understood. I want to be cherished. I have these needs. And for whatever reason, and I tell my coaching, I hate always having to come back to this word safe. Like, it's not safe to, or comfortable, or, the environment is not such. Maybe it's very distracted to even just be able to have these conversations. So it's not always a safety, like, I don't feel safe. Sometimes it's just the environment doesn't contribute to even having time or space to have these conversations and to get vulnerable. And so people don't, you or your spouse might not be expressing your needs anymore. And you go into this place of, well, I'm just gonna keep it inside. I'm just gonna go along. And even as we were just discussing the episode right before we started recording, Tony's like, I wonder if sometimes too, it's the way of peace, right? It's a way to avoid conflict. And to be in this place of, well, I'm just not going to bring up my needs because it's easier.
Yeah. I think a lot of us in marriage, and even myself included, there were times when, and are still times when things are not brought up, when I'm not actually saying what I need to keep peace. And that could be for a variety of reasons. It could be because it's been a long day and I got a headache and I don't want to deal with it right now. Or it could just be that we're going to enjoy dinner and I'd rather just enjoy dinner. I'm hungry. It may be that as much as I'm frustrated with something, I'd like to have sex tonight. And so instead of actually sharing the actual need that I have, I can push it aside knowing that maybe later down the road we can address it. And I'd be lying to say that if we didn't do that, we are human. We myself included, will skirt issues because I don't want to deal with what the ramifications may be. Not to say that they're harsh. It's just, do I really want to spend 30 minutes or an hour on this conversation tonight?
Yeah. And I think that's the truth, whether it's confrontation, whether it's, some fear. And this was the other part of the question, like, what do you feel when you're holding that in, and why don't you bring up these topics? And these are some of the responses that you shared. Fear of rejection, fear of anger or the silent treatment, fear of being dismissed, fear of disappointing my spouse, fear of being seen as needy, selfish, or ungrateful, fear of sounding confrontational, feeling embarrassed or stupid for even needing something. And some of you right now are probably like, you're just feeling a gut punch, because that's never the intention that you had for your marriage. On the day the two of you said, I do, when you got out there, you're like, I don't want my spouse to ever feel this way. I was talking to this really sweet couple the other day, and they're engaged, and we were having a conversation, and just the way he describes his future bride, and the fact that he wants to create this place for her where, she's going to be happy and all of these different things. And I just said, hey, life, like, not to burst your bubble, but life is going to come at you guys. Mm-hmm. And it's the environment that the two of you create that's going to make it so you can have these conversations even when they're hard. But the reality is all of those fears and being embarrassed, everything from being embarrassed to being dismissed to the silent treatment. I will tell you, we've had those in our own marriage. And these are things that I see on an almost daily basis in coaching on why people don't bring things up. With another coaching couple the other day, and he starts to say something and then he just stops like 3 words into the sentence. And I was like, what's the rest of the sentence? And he's like, it's just going to open up a can of worms and it's just going to hurt her. I'm not going to say it. And I looked at them and I said, it's probably something that you've been keeping under wraps for a really long time. And we're here. So your way hasn't worked. Can we try a different way? And can we walk through whatever this statement is? And, so many of you talked about why you do these things. And you said, well, I was brought up to cope, or I feel like I don't have a voice, or I don't want to be viewed as selfish. And I'm going to push back on that a little bit, that in order to create the extraordinary in your marriage, you're going to have to do things that are a little uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Not all the time. Like Tony and I are not, like, we are not uncomfortable all the time.
No.
But every once in a while, you're going to have to step out because your needs matter. What's going on inside of you matters. And if it's not expressed, it reminds me of Beau's Cafe.
Oh, yes.
From
Fantastic
a million years
book.
ago.
Fantastic
we shared that book and we've shared it throughout the years. But there's a line that I'm going to paraphrase in that book that talks about the fact that, when you take off these masks, when you express your needs, when you say who you are actually loved more for who you are than loved less.
Yep.
Because you don't know the love when you are wearing your masks, when you're not asking for your needs, when you're so worried about all of these other things. It's almost a false love because it's not authentic. It's not you.
I'll find that on Amazon and I'll link up to that book. It is such a good book. And it's something I think we shared probably 15 years ago here on the One Extraordinary Marriage show. And I've read it multiple times since then. And every time I read it, it just brings me hope and to realize that, hey, there's something that I have under wraps or I've locked down a little bit that I need to take off a mask. And I need to be sharing with Elisa because, as she said, when you take off those masks, you're loved more, not less, for who you are. And if we want to have that extraordinary marriage, we need to take off those masks. And I really think that when we look at this is, when you have to, how do you share your needs and what are those actual needs? We got to express them. Because if we don't, then it builds up. And I think the biggest thing I see is resentment, bitterness, anger. And I think about that and I'm going, that's not where we want you to live. That's not where we want you to stay. That's not where you want to be because it's tense and can be frightening at times to think like, what could happen if I say something or my spouse says something? How may I react? Because there is that other side of it. My spouse says something. How do I react to that? And so I think when we take off those masks, we become the authentic self, the true person that God has created us to be here on earth as husband and wife.
It's interesting because I'm just processing even just how you're saying this. And one of the other questions we asked was, what do you do when you need something? Like, what are the behaviors that you engage in? And we just did it as a poll. The categories were hint and hope, stay quiet, get frustrated, or say it clearly. Only 24% say it clearly, according to the responses. The other 76%, hint and hope, stay quiet, or get frustrated. 3/4 are in some sort of avoiding behavior. And the reality is that over the course of a lifetime of a marriage, that much avoidance creates really big cracks across all your intimacies. It creates big cracks in your marriage, and it can feel irreconcilable. And stepping into a place of, like I told a client the other day, I'm like, can we just put one toe in the water? Can we just, we don't have to, we're not doing a cold plunge. I'm not going to shock your system, but can we start with one step? Start with one step to get into this. And we're going to talk about that after this break. A new year always makes me pause and think, what rhythm do I want to live in this season? Not just for my schedule, but for my body, my energy, and how I show up in my marriage. When you're running on empty, everything feels harder, including connection at home. That's why I love Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet. It's a science-backed reset that works at the cellular level to rejuvenate you from the inside out. The Prolon structure with plant-based soups, snacks, and beverages that nourish your body while keeping it in a fasting state triggers real cellular renewal and keeps me on track. When I'm craving a reset, I know that Prolon works for me. It's convenient and it's backed by Nobel-winning science. Ready for your own reset? For a limited time, Prolon is offering One Extraordinary Marriage listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/marriage. That's prolonlife.com/marriage to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/marriage.
This is a Monday.com ad. The same Monday.com designed for every team. The same Monday.com with built-in AI, scaling your work from day one. The same Monday.com with an easy and intuitive setup. Go to Monday.com and try it for free.
We're back, and we've been talking about these needs and expressing them and learning what to do. And just kind of building off of last week's episode too, where we talked about connection as a skill, learning to express yourself, especially when, we all have baggage from over the course of our lives. This is not just a parent, like you've got baggage from childhood. Like we've all been conditioned by the people in our life and how our needs have been met over the course of a lifetime. And so learning how to do something different in your marriage is just that. It's going to be a new skill. And it's going to be one that the two of you are going to navigate, because you're not going to get it right the first time. You may not even get it right on the 100th time, but at least you've got some reps in there to go, okay, we've done this, but this one we stubbed our toe. When you start coming into expressing your needs, one of the things I really want to encourage you is to separate the need from criticism, because criticism wounds like no other. I've had so many spouses over the years tell me that my spouse's words carry more weight than just about anything on the planet. So when that comes across as a criticism, the you never, or you always, or I can't believe you, then whatever you're asking for gets lost in the criticism. Instead of saying something like, hey, I need reassurance, not you never reassure me. This is something that I need. I need to feel reassured. Okay, that's a very different thing. There's no blame in that. There's no accusation. These are me expressing my needs. And starting with the need, right? I need reassurance might be because, we've been disconnected for so long, right? Or I need clarity because I'm confused. That comment about needing toddler level communication. Hey, your spouse might be going through some stuff right now, and just the way you normally talk could just feel really overwhelming. I would even say, run some of your ideas through ChatGPT or an AI model and be like, help me just make this simpler so that I can explain it to my spouse. Get some ideas. Use the tools that are at our hands.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, though. So every month in Intimacy Mastery, we have a live workshop. Mm-hmm. And last night we had our monthly live workshop, and it was interesting. And it's a great group of people. If you'd love to be a part of Intimacy Mastery, come check it out, intimacymastery.com. We'd love to have you there. And so we have dialogue with, it's an hour-long workshop, and it's a dialogue. We're talking about a topic, and one of the couples brought something up that I thought was really cool, because we were talking about romance, and we were talking about what are ways that you are romantic with one another? How do you romance one another? And this couple brought up they have a journal.
A shared journal. And
so what it is it's a way for them to express what's going on in their love for one another, but also some tough things that it sounded like as well, where they could write it down, where instead of saying like, for this, and the reason it just percolated up for me was we shared this before. Sometimes it's hard to express where you are or the need you have vocally. It could be for a myriad of reasons. Been there, done that. What I loved was what they shared is if they were dealing with something and needed to address that need, they could write it in the journal and then pass it over to their spouse, which then allowed the spouse to read, digest, process, and then come together and discuss. And so I just found that to be like, oh, that's a really awesome way for any of us to be able to express those needs. And it's in a back and forth manner of, okay, I hear you and I'm going to write, but we're also going to talk.
Well, and I think this is just a sidebar, but I think a lot of times in marriage work, there is this expectation that if we have a challenge, if we're feeling something, then the way to communicate that is through oral communication. I'm going to speak, you're going to listen, you're going to speak, I'm going to listen. Theoretically, everybody's listening, right? But it's got to be an oral communication. And I think, one of the things that couple shared, and I've seen it with a lot of couples over the last 14 years too, is this idea that sometimes we have to get our thoughts organized. Sometimes, especially for those of you that are internal processors and aren't so quick on the fly when your spouse starts like talking about stuff, taking the time, bullet points, sentences, whatever it might be, there's no right way to do this, but to organize your thoughts, to be in a calm state, to be able to do that, it actually becomes, written communication can be an incredibly effective form of communication. And so don't think of it as either or, either we're going to just write everything for the next 20 years or we have to speak, but look at it as a both and. How can we use a written tool and oral communication to communicate with one another, to get into this place where we're being clear? Like, it's not about perfection, guys. Like, Tony and I, we are not perfect.
Well, I am.
Stop. We get the bad reviews when you say you're perfect. Stop it. Ay. Oh my gosh. 30 years. He feels like he's fine wine and just getting better with each.
Wow. I love that. That is, I think, the honest to goodness truth. I'm an amazing Italian wine.
You're vintage.
I'm
Anyway, let's be clear. So many couples don't say things because they're worried it's not going to be perfect. And my encouragement is strive for clarity, not perfection. Right? Be in this place of I like understanding of communicate. And again, this is why you think through what are the different modalities of communication so that you can bring clarity to your conversations, not like, well, I've got to say the right words and we've got to be in the right place and we've got to be, have the right, like, it's not all going to be perfect. That only happens in the movies, you guys. And as I said in 6 Pillars, there's on average 274 people making that seem perfect. You and I just have 2. And unless you all have your own perfect Tony, the rest of us just have to deal in an imperfect world. Isn't that right, perfect Tony?
That is absolutely correct.
Oh my gosh. Way to derail. And finally, I want to say something because Tony touched on this a few minutes ago. If you are the one hearing the needs expressed, how you respond really does matter. If you fly off and let me say, as a coach, I have never told anybody you are not allowed to feel your emotions. I never will tell anybody you're not allowed to feel your emotions. They're yours. You get them. But how you respond when you're feeling your emotions, the words that you choose, all of that will make a difference in whether or not your spouse will come to you with their needs in the future. It will. If you are harsh, if you are mean, if you are dismissive, if you go silent, if you, any of those types of behaviors will train your spouse to go, this is not a safe person to ask or to share my needs. But if you pause and you can even say, hey, I'm feeling really emotional about that. I'm going to need a minute to collect my thoughts, or more than a minute. It's a much safer response for them to go, okay, well, I expressed myself and this didn't turn into World War III, or it didn't turn into 5 days of the silent treatment, or whatever it might be. But you're stepping into this place of saying, hey, I have to show up differently if I want a different response.
And I want to share something here as you're saying that. I think the underlying foundation to all of this is we're on the same team. It's something we have talked about for ever and ever.
Yep.
So I think we need to just make sure as we come to a close here, we're on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the argument, the need, the frustration, what we're discussing is the problem. Elisa and I are still married and will always be married because we're on the same team. And then we understand and we build from that the 6 pillars of intimacy, each of those pillars, we're looking at them as which ones have cracks and which ones are strong. Because it's one of those most likely where the need is arising. And so understanding which pillar it is helps me isolate it to go, it's not the entire marriage is junk and is crumbling down. It's our financial intimacy pillar where I'm having an issue right now. And I think when we understand those two things clearly, we're not afraid to take off the mask because in that moment in time, we are not afraid that our spouse is going to walk out the door and leave us. And I think that is the big thing. When we get into this area, there's an underlying crack. There's an underlying fissure that's going, if I bring this up, my spouse is leaving me. I've been there. I know that feeling. I don't have that anymore because I know 2 things. I know 3 things, really. 1, God's in it. Like, absolutely is in this marriage. 2, we're on the same team. And 3, we look at our 6 pillars of intimacy and can isolate what the need is, so it's not the entire marriage is junk. And by doing that, we're able to take off those masks. And we're able to express ourselves. And we're able to then move forward and go, okay, like I hear you. I got it. Things change over time, folks. 30 years of marriage almost with Elisa. Things change. I mean, it just, we were talking the other day, and come June this year, it'll be 32 years that we've known each other. We met in June of 1994. And it brought me to tears thinking about that. Like 32 years, a 21-year-old Tony who was dumb as could possibly be, married to this wonderful and beautiful woman inside and out. I mean, what a blessed life I get to live. And yet, I've had to grow. We talked about this last week. Connection is a skill. We had to learn how to connect. And I think those 3 things, though, have really permeated through my life. And I can look back. God, we didn't have God in our marriage early on. We're on the same team. And those 6 pillars, we can look at them, we can isolate the crack, and we can determine what we need to do next. And so with that, this week, you may be feeling like, oh man, Tony, Elisa, like, why did you have to bring this up? Like, this isn't, why? Well, the reason why is because it's probably time for you to take off a mask and share a need you really have. Now, how you go about doing that, verbally, writing it down, maybe it's an audio text message. I don't know what it is for you. And yet I do think it's time to start going, all right, like we're on the same team. Maybe you got to just start expressing that. Like, I've been feeling funky and out of whack because I don't know if we're really on the same team. And maybe that's the need you need right now, is to have the assurance that your spouse isn't going to walk out the door on you if you have a tough conversation. Like I said, we've been there. We've done that. We've walked many a couples through that. And so take some time this week and think about it. Now, for others of you, you may be like, this isn't for me right now. Cool. But there may be somebody in your life who needs to hear this, who's probably hurting, who's probably going like, man, I haven't been able to express what I need in my marriage for 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, 5 months. Be a blessing in their life and send this to them and let them know that you care about them. And there are people in this world who care about them and their marriage, because we want them to have that extraordinary marriage. So go out there, go do it. You guys are awesome. Have yourselves an amazing week. Love you guys.